So the professional wrestling match was over. The crowd was leaving the stadium, and the girls were waiting for the Black Gothic Band to start their entertainment. They would play 4 or 5 songs for the younger crowd before wrapping up the evening. And once they started, the crowd was mostly gone, except for the young kids, teenagers, and quite a few Gothic people. Those that dressed in black and lived the Gothic theme. They were enjoying the music. It was loud, a lot of bass, and fantastic lyrics. But Usher came up to Esther with a note. The note said, "My sister and I would like you to join us downstairs if you would like." And we had been working with Iron Fist Dan and getting ready to leave for the evening. So Esther knew who it was from. It was one of the twins that had winked at him. And so she showed the note to Day and said, "Are you interested?" And Day said, "Well, yeah, because the unknown downstairs where it all happens would be far more interesting than listening to the music, which they can do another time." So Day asked everybody else. And out of the 7 girls, everybody agreed going downstairs, seeing the unknown where all the wrestlers come from would be exciting. So Esther said to the usher, "Take us, lead us there." And they followed him. He took them over to some stairwells, and the usher told the security guard at the stairwells that these girls were allowed to go downstairs. And the usher told him that Danielle, Tracy, one of the twins, would be at the bottom of the stairs. So they took 12 steps down, and there was a turn, and they took another 12 steps down, and it was all concrete, nothing fancy. And they were in a long tunnel, and there were a lot of doors in this tunnel, different rooms. And looking around, there wasn't any activity at this time. And they were thinking, well, he did say at the bottom of the stairs. Well, immediately, a door opened, and the young woman stepped out. Her name was Tracy Ann, and greeted everybody, and she went straight to Esther and said, "Oh, thank you so much for coming," and gave Esther a big hug. Well, Esther normally doesn't allow people to approach quickly and get within her space, but She liked Danielle Elizabeth. She could sense that this girl was a good person and safe. And so she let her hug her. And then Danielle said, my sister and I, seldom get to meet people. And she said, I saw you girls and you all seem so close that I just wanted to meet you all. So Esther did the introductions. She said, well, my name's, Ester Saint. And this is my sister, Day Ho. And these are our friends, Chris, Eve, and Helen. And this is her other friend, Raven, and her sister, Riley Grace. So Danielle Elizabeth said, well, it's, she hugged everybody, had a comment to say to everybody to welcome them. I said, well, please follow me. We'll go into our dressing room. And they did. Danielle Elizabeth walked over to her sister, Tracy Ann, spun around on a chair and said, Tracy, I want you to meet some really wonderful young girls that I just met tonight, and they're very special. And Tracy Ann smiled and jumped up. Tracy Ann was wearing panties and a t-shirt similar to what Danielle Elizabeth had on, but pink in color instead of Danielle had blue in color. So anyway, Tracy and she came over and Danielle did the introductions and remembered everybody's name. And so at first, when she met Esther, she said to Esther, when my sister says somebody's special, I know that they are special. And she said, I'm so glad to meet you. And she gave Esther a hug and did the same with everybody. So after the introductions, Danielle Elizabeth grabbed a big bag and threw it on a table and said, my sister and I never travel anywhere without a Keurig coffee maker. And this bag is full of coffee. So we like to relax with a cup of coffee, and all of you are invited to enjoy some coffee too. And so Danielle had grabbed a little K-cup out of the bag and gone to the Keurig machine and made herself a pecan flavored coffee and sat down and started to relax. She pulled her legs up under her, and Helen and Eve had already taken some K-cups and were making coffee, and everybody eventually made some coffee and they were all enjoying it. They were all relaxing. So in the conversation, Danielle said, tonight's a very special night for us because we have to find another job. Iron Fist Dan decided to quit professional wrestling, go back to Missouri and raise pigs on his father's pig farm. He had taken such a bad beat that he didn't want to stay in wrestling anymore. Not to mention he had noticed that Satan had defeated the Phoenix so badly that he decided he was way out of his league. So the girls explained they were unemployed, but that was nothing new, and they were certain they were going to find another job. Well, Esther said, so in the meantime, what do you do? And Danielle explained, well, it's happened several times. So they just sit in a hotel and wait for a phone call. They understood that in this business, two young, attractive girls with their skills would be very popular and are popular. And they would be offered another job, just a matter of time. Their manager, James, was working on it, and he was out trying to earn his 10%. So Esther looked at Day, and of course all the other girls understood what Esther was thinking. So Esther said, well, Danielle, my aunt and I, we have a spare room. You're more than welcome to stay with us until you find that new job. And Esther explained it might be a little crowded tonight because we're having a sleepover, and it's all the girls are going to be at the house. So Danielle looked at Tracy, and Tracy already was excited. She said, anything but staying in hotel? Wonderful. And you girls are all so wonderful and fun. This would be great. So the twins quickly packed up, explained we're safe, ready to go. And Danielle said, don't worry about it being late out there, because Danielle and I, Tracy and I have handled some pretty rough characters. And Esther made a comment, and so have I. So they walked down to an elevator, went up to the main level, got their bearings, and Day said, I believe this way would be the limousine. Danielle said, well, a limousine? You girls must be having a special night. And Esther said, well, Mr. Wilson provided us a limousine because he thinks I did something special for him. And Danielle knew that the owner of the WOW was a Mr. Wilson. She asked if that was the same one, and Esther said, well, yes. She helped him secure a few stocks for WOW, and he's very grateful for that. So, breaking through a couple doors, they started towards a limousine, and the driver wasn't there. And Esther yelled out, Day, stop. Well, everybody stopped, and even Helen, they grabbed the twins and held them back too. Esther took a few more steps forward, and three tall men, very tall, stepped out from the corner, and one of them explained that they were going to take all of the jewelry from the girls tonight. Another man said, look, Jack, look at that necklace. It's got to be worth $10,000. Well, the other person slapped him and said, we don't use our names here. And he said, now get up. And so the three men were in front of the girls, between them and the limousine. Esther had changed her composure, was now looking very serious at him. She looked at the man that seemed to be the leader. He was 6'4", African American, good-looking man, but unfortunately all three of them were dressed rather raggedly. And she said, look, if My name's Ester Saint, and as they say in the movies, I am your worst nightmare. Ester said, if you take another step forward, I'm going to put all three of you into the hospital tonight, and you can tell the police anything you want. And the man, Jack, said, Ester Saint. I've heard of Ester Saint. And he started being very apologetic and tried to back out. And he said, I really don't want any problems with you. Thank you for giving us a warning, and we'll just leave you tonight. And Jack's brother, he said, no, we're going to take this. And he stepped towards Ester and said, I'm getting that necklace from you. And Ester simply grabbed his hand, twisted it in a way that the man fell backwards, laid on the ground. Ester pulled his middle finger out, dislocated it. The man was screaming in pain. All the while, Ester was looking at Jack and smiling this time, saying, he's okay. I've only dislocated his finger. And then she looked down at the man and said, your brother's very wise. You'd be doing well to listen to him, because he's saved you from great pain tonight. Ester put the finger back into position and dropped the hand. Then Ester motioned everybody towards the limousine. And she continued to look at Jack and said, you might have heard also that I can often see the future. She said, if you continue on this path, I see in 18 months you'll all be dead. You need to change your path. A friend of mine, Marco Polo, runs polos for women. He'll give you all three a job. Won't be a great job, but it'll be a fairly good paying job. I suggest you go there tomorrow and change your lives. So Jack looked at Ester and thanked her. Ester went up to Jack, said, I can see you're a wise person. If you don't do as I suggest, within 18 months, your brother will be dead and your best friend will be dead, and you will be dead. Jack said, the only two people I love in this road are my brother, my best friend. He said, we'll go and find jobs tomorrow. He said, thank you, Ester. So by then, the girls had found the driver. He had been tied up. He was okay. So they were yelling at Ester to come. So Ester smiled at Jack, gave him a kiss on the cheek, said, don't disappoint me. I think you'll do the right thing. And she jumped in the limousine and they took off. So they were headed towards Ester's apartment with the twins that would be staying with them for a little while.